What is going on, Governor? It's Chisgule here, and today we're going to help you pick the very best civilization for you in Rise of Kingdoms. If you like videos where we talk about how to optimize your gameplay, you should definitely like and subscribe because that's the thing we do here, and we are a sponsored creator for Rise of Kingdoms. Now, we're traveling internationally, but it doesn't matter. We're going to make our videos, so don't mind the lack of the green screen today. Let's get right into the core topic, which is looking at the different civilizations that are available and picking the right one for the thing that you're trying to do or trying to optimize for. Now, I'll put a chart up over my head or maybe to the side over here showing you a full breakdown of what I think the number 1, number 2, number 3, and some honorable mentions are for each major activity you might do in Rise of Kingdoms. Now, the core categories that I evaluated against include battling barbarians, city defense, rallying and defending structures, open field combat, and getting to T5. Those are the categories we're going to look at, and I've arranged the civilizations in this chart in the order that they show up in game. So let's start with our first category, which is battling barbarians. There's a couple things that we evaluated against for battling barbarians. One is we really like march speed for getting around and spending less time actually hunting the darn things. More importantly, we really waited for damage to barbarians, which came in a couple forms, and let's start to talk about that. The number 1 civilization for battling barbarians is going to be Arabia, with KVK coming out especially in the level of those barbarians elevating pretty profoundly, the level of the barb forts elevating profoundly. The extra 10% damage is relevant, and another way to think about that damage is that even if you're overkilling everything that you battle, it means you spend less resources on healing, so in some ways, it's resource gain. And I actually kind of like that a lot. Arabia is my number 1 pick. My number 2 pick for battling barbarians is Ottoman. And Ottoman is an empire. It is a civilization you're going to hear me mention a lot during this video because they've got 5% march speed, which is really, really exceptional. And they've also got 5% skill damage, active skill damage. So if you're using commanders that do a lot of active skill damage, and like, look, Minamoto and Cao Cao are the premier commanders, they do a lot of skill damage, yeah, this is going to be really, really great for battling barbarians. This is my number 2 pick for that activity. Now, the third choice, and this is a different sort of a choice, is Spain for the experience boost gain of 10%. Spain is exceptional all around, and if what you care about is really leveling up your commanders to the max, then this 10% experience boost is pretty good. It's not relevant if you're fighting forts, but it is relevant if you fight the Guardians pretty regularly. It is also super relevant if you spend a lot of time battling barbarians on the map instead of doing forts. And so Spain was my number 3 pick for battling barbarians. Now, obviously, if what you care about is the experience over the damage, then you could go this route, and a T5 player might care more about the experience than the damage. The runners-up are marked with stars. First runner-up is Rome, simply for the march speed. Being able to get around the map helps. Runner-up was France, and that is because if you're leading rallies, it's worth mentioning, they've got 3% troop health. They don't care what troop type it is. So if people are bringing lots of different types of troops, this could be pretty good. Really, people should be bringing all cavalry to rallies, and it should be Minamoto and Cao Cao. That's a separate matter entirely, but I think this is pretty good. And it's the kill event, so we're getting scouted. That's exciting. That's exciting. When we farm during the kill event, this is like totally unrelated to the topic of the video. When we farm during the kill event, we bring full armies. So I honestly, like, if you want to hit one of those armies, good luck and thanks for the kills. Okay. Back to the task at hand. Back to the task at hand. Runner up, China. 3% troop defense. I think that's really great. 3% of stats to all your different troops. Really? Are we getting scouted again? And then Japan. 3% troop attack, lots of different types of troops. I think that's really, really strong. If you can get all of your allies to send only cavalry, then I suppose a cavalry civilization might be better. Are we actually getting attacked? Are you you're serious? I mean, I'll include this in the video. I will include this in the video because this is happening right now. This is actually happening. The madman. Why would you do this? Why? Why would you do this? I mean, choices were made, and they were ill-advised. I'm sorry, Hank. I'm trying to make a video here. Choices have been made. I suppose thanks for the kills. I'm sorry for your losses. Truly I am. If you are insane enough to attack the king, then I guess there's the outcome. Okay. P.S. I guess you might have wanted to see the report from when this poor guy decided to attack me while I was gathering. Yeah, so pretty. I'm sorry, Hank. I'm so sorry. I always feel bad. Anyways, all right, there it is. Okay, back to the structure at hand. The task at hand, which is city defense. Structures are next. City defense, top 3 choices, and there's actually a tie for third. We'll talk about that in a second. My number 1 pick, and of course these represent my opinion, is Britain. Now, Britain lets you increase your garrison capacity by 20%. 20% if you have a max level alliance center means you're going to have 200,000 more troops. I think that is amazing. There are few ways to increase your damage against someone attacking your city, and therefore Britain is really, really good in doing exactly that, elevating the damage of someone who's that you can deal to someone who's attacking your city. The problem is that this loses its effectiveness the more troops that you have. It loses its value the more troops that you have, and it also assumes you're getting reinforced to max capacity. So, assuming you are reinforced to max capacity and you had only 1 million troops, then, getting another 200,000 in there, so you have 1.2 million to reinforce you, is a really big deal. But if you already have 2 or 3 million troops, and I know that's a high quality problem, the extra 200,000 troops starts to lose some of its luster. It starts to lose some of its impressive effectiveness in battle. And in that case, I start to think that Ottoman starts to look like a better choice if your city defense commanders do a lot of damage, because it increases the skill damage that you deal by 5%. So if you're using a commander like, say, Yi Song-ye on your wall, then yeah, 5% extra skill damage is a really big deal. If you're using commanders like Richard and Martel together, then that's a whole heck of a lot less compelling. Now, my third place choice is actually a 3-way tie between the civilizations that all give a boost to every troop. So that includes France, which is a 3% health boost to all types of troops. Also pretty handy, by the way, that you have a hospital healing speed. If you're taking a lot of these rallies back to back, then that's pretty relevant. China offers you the 3% troop defense to all types of troops, which is pretty good. And Japan offers 3% attack to all types of troops. 3-way tie for third, in my opinion, because you're going to have all those different types of troops in your city, and it gives them all a damage boost, which is actually really quite nice. The runners-up that I had for city defense include Germany, and that is because if you can train more troops, then you have more troops in your city to defend it. And Germany has a 5% troop training, which is actually pretty darn good. Britain also has troop training, which is a part of the reason they're also the number 1 pick. And as a runner-up, I also included Korea, because Korea increases your hospital capacity, which is a thing you might need. And finally, Byzantium, as a runner-up with 15% increased hospital capacity. The next category we're going to take a look at is rallying structures. And this is relevant because there are bonuses for rallying stuff, but there isn't actually a bonus associated with defending against a rally. We'll talk about that in just a second. My number 1 pick is Arabia. Arabia offers 5% increased damage from rallied armies. Now, why is that better than the Ottoman Empire, which does just skill damage? Some of the very best civilizations for leading, not civilizations, commanders for leading rallies don't actually do skill damage. For instance, Caesar. So 5% increased damage by your rallied armies increases your counterattack, increases your basic attack, and it increases your skill attacks, but only if you are launching rallies. I assume this does not work for defending a structure, because it's not a rallied army if you're defending a structure. See what I mean? It's not a rallied army if you're defending a city. It's only a rallying army if you're doing the attack. So this would be the number one choice if you are rallying something. The number two choice, in my opinion, if you're using commanders that do a lot of skill damage, is again the Ottoman Empire. And like, look, if you're doing a cavalry rally with Minamoto Cao Cao, or you're using Frederick, right? Like Frederick cares a lot about skill damage, and a 5% boost is a big deal. I think that's pretty excellent. We have a three-way tie again for third place, and that is the three civilizations that buff all troop types: France, China, and Japan. We did not list runners-up for rallying structures. For defending structures, the calculus changes a little bit because now Arabia is not relevant. It's not a rallying army. In that case, I think Ottoman, if you've got commanders that really care about skill damage, becomes your number one pick. And we've got a three-way tie for second place with the three civilizations that, again, elevate damage for all troop types. That is France, China, and Japan. Runners up for defending structures include Germany, because you can train more troops, and if you're defending like a flag, you can send multiple armies, so having more troops actually is kind of relevant. In a similar vein, Britain, with the 5% elevated troop capacity, was a runner-up because, like, look, if you've got more troops, you can actually dump more troops into the structure to defend it. The next category is open field combat, and our number one pick for open field combat is a slam dunk with the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire is increasing your march speed by 5% and increasing your skill damage by 5%, especially if you're using commanders that care about skill damage. And like, look, cavalry are really good in the open field. Therefore, you're probably using Mina Cao, and they do a ton of damage in the open field, or you're using epic commanders that do a ton of damage in the open field. Anyways, I really like Ottoman if you are interested in the open field. Now, if you care a lot about commanders like Scipio and Richard I and Charles Martel, which don't do skill damage, and that's what you're using in the open field, the calculus here obviously changes. In that case, you're much better off with Rome, which gives a 5% march speed boost, which I think is really, really great. My third pick for open field combat, and this is in my opinion a distant third, is France, and that's simply for the hospital healing speed. I was in one battle yesterday during the kill event where I sent out 3 armies. They sent out 4 armies. It was a big open field mayhem. We both, have T5 troops, and I had something like 140,000 troops from that one battle hit my hospital. So 20% healing speed becomes super relevant during an event like Mighty Governor if you're doing a lot of open field combat. I think actually France can be really compelling. Now, runners-up for the open field included Germany, because if you've got if you've got cavalry, and many of us should be using cavalry in the open field because I really like charged talents, then yeah, that cavalry special unit becomes super relevant. The focus on cavalry becomes super relevant. I really like Germany and also Spain for their cavalry unit, and also Arabia for their cavalry unit, and, of course, Byzantium for their cavalry unit. If what you care about is open field, of course, this is just the runner-up category. The final category we're looking at today, and we may do future categories, or more categories in the future, is getting to T5. And getting to T5 is what I've personally focused on. And, I mean, I'm still getting more T5, so I'm still focused on this. And that includes, as a number one pick, Korea with 3% research speed. That is honestly a pretty big deal, given the number of insane amount of hours that you've got to spend to get to T5. I also really, really like, as a second place choice, China for the 5% building speed. This stops being relevant as soon as you have your academy to 25, but up until that point, I actually think you're better off with China until that point, and Korea after that point, where your academy is 25. Then my third place pick is actually Japan. Japan, because if you're farming lots of resources, and you should be, means you can use those resources at the Mysterious Merchant to convert into speed ups very aggressively. And you need every bit of speed ups you can get, and you need a lot of resources to get all the way up to T5 troops. Now, I've got some runners up for getting to T5 troops, and that's basically any civilization that gives you some amount of efficiency toward getting your T5s. That includes Rome for 10% food gathering speed. That includes Germany for 10% action point recovery. That does not include Britain, but it does include France for wood gathering speed. It includes Spain for resource production. Arabia, because dealing extra damage to neutral units means that you'll spend less resources healing units in the hospital, and that becomes especially irrelevant in the KVK area. I suppose that's sort of true with the skill damage from the Ottoman Empire, although I didn't include them in the list. And lastly, Byzantium for the stone gathering speed. So there you have it, my friends. All of these civilizations ranked. If we take a look at which civilizations get the most love, in my opinion, from me, and this is my opinion, the Ottoman Empire is looking really, really good, with the number 2 spot for battling barbarians, city defense, and rallying structures, and the number 1 spot for defending structures in the open field. This is what we're swapping to very soon. Very, very soon. Another civilization that I thought is worth a mention for its extremes in the rankings was Arabia, which was number 1 for battling barbarians, in my opinion, number 1 for rallying anything, and then got an honorable mention for open field and getting to T5. The other civilizations that showed up a lot on the list include France, China, and Japan. This is because they're giving the buff to all the different troop types, which I think people underestimate. 12% of stats versus 5% of stats. That's 7% of stats more. I mean, I think it's pretty good. It's a minor thing, though, so I wouldn't necessarily decide what it is that you choose as your civilization based on that alone. It's the other factors, and that would help sway you toward picking one of those civilizations: France, China, or Japan. So there you have it. We spent our early game on Japan, swapped to Korea when our academy hit 25 and we started really spending out to get our T5s. And then from there, we're going to be moving over to the Ottoman Empire. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please do like and subscribe. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.